I think as entrepreneurs, we should constantly be questioning what is possible. Why is it like this? Maybe that's just more my nature, but what if we could do this? What would it look like? And I just feel like I've had enough experiences, specifically as an entrepreneur, with a dream, and then you set the goal, and then you just figure out how to get there. Man, I've taken on a lot of new hobbies in the last handful of years. And a lot of that, I think, is I've got 3 kids, and I just want to like jam pack my time with them full of super cool adventures. So, dude, it's Monday. We're recording this. 24 hours ago, I was flying around in a helicopter chasing coyotes at one of our ranches with them. And I'm like, they're 11 and 13. 13-year-old's going to be gone in 5 years. And I want them to just be like, man, we did a lot of crazy stuff with Dad. And same thing with golfing or different adventures we have. So just trying to stack together a bunch of good last days and under the idea that'll make a good life when it's all done. That makes
I like
sense.
that, man. I like the idea of the stacking of the days. And I ask that from the perspective of someone I'm in what I like to call affectionately the baby entrepreneur stage, right? Sure. So Scott, you got the kind of the different stages of business. My business is a little infant right now, and it needs a lot of attention. In David Osborne's world, it's going from the I do to the we do. I'm protecting the sapling as it grows. And I was hanging out with Pasha in Singapore, and he asked me, he's like, who are you outside of your business? He's like, what are your hobbies? And I came to the realization that I don't really have any anymore. And there's not much that I think about outside of my business anymore because I'm so obsessed with my business and I'm so obsessed with Action Academy and I love it so much. It's all I think about. So that's the frame that I was asking the question through. So that's why I was curious about your perspective selfishly, but I think the audience would get a lot of perspective and value from that.
I think at your stage, and you're at a different stage of life than I am, but I was at that stage too. And in the early years of my business, I was absolutely completely positively obsessed 24/7 with that business.
So I'm not crazy. Good.
Yeah,
Checking the box.
I think that's what it takes. And I think that's why so few people are successful entrepreneurs is the amount of rocket fuel it takes to get into orbit is so high. It takes so much energy to get out of the orbit of a comfortable job or whatever the case is and risk everything to go do it. But once you get into space, you're really not expending a lot of rocket fuel anymore. So if you're in that get out of orbit phase, yeah, man, it's years of putting it all on the table. And I still love to work really hard and build my businesses and stuff, but it's also completely based around like what I want to be doing too. But that's just a new phase. That's a phase that's come out of years of being in that obsession phase. So when I hear people like starting a business and they're kind of like uncomfortable with this or that, I'm like, oh, dude, you got to be like totally obsessed for many years. Like that's what it takes.
Yeah, that was my assumption as well. I just like getting your perspective on it. And for me, it's just, I don't know. For me, I think that the key differentiator between somebody that's like the corporate guy to getting enough rocket fuel to be able to get out of that orbit, I like that analogy. For me, it's vision. That's what I preach, vision. Like you see where it's going. So that's what keeps you going is instead of running away from something, you're running towards this grand vision. Like I can see it in front of me, millions of people through the show, through the community and everything. And people see that with their businesses. Can you pinpoint maybe 1 or 2 things that helps you with the rocket fuel to escape the orbit when you were in that corporate position, which we'll get into in a second?
Yeah, I totally agree. It is the vision. It's what's the vision for the future? Reverse engineer the steps, and then you just get obsessed with executing on those steps. But it is the vision of a different life. And so those have changed for me. At first, the vision was if I could just get out of my corporate job, then I had enough energy to put into this business that I think I could make it do things that were really big and that were bigger than my corporate job was. But the vision's changed over time. Okay, you get out of your corporate job. Okay, and then the vision changes, right? It gets a little bit bigger, and you keep growing that. I was doing an early multifamily deal many years ago, and it was big, tough closing. And I remember we were skiing. I think it was at an event actually. Yeah. And so I would get back from skiing and go answer investor questions or whatever. And it was a challenging time, but I remember thinking the same thing I thought on the mountain. I'm like a mediocre skier was look where you want to go, like at all times. There's a million scary things to look at. Look off the side of the mountain, this and that. You could die, but don't look over there. Look at where you're trying to go. You're trying to go right in front of you and look at that. And so I think it's the same thing with the vision. I think it's got to be really clearly defined for us entrepreneurs. And then it's almost like 1,000 times a day you might have to retrain your focus on that vision. You get sidetracked, put it back on. You're going to start looking at stuff that's scary, put it back on the vision, put it back on the vision. eventually over enough time, you build that habit. But without that, it's real hard to stay on track, for sure.
Perfect, man. I'm glad that I've got the correct ideas. I just like to stress test them. It's like I can come up with my own theories, but I like to like throw them to the wall and see which ones are actually valid. But because
I love it.
the thing is, I am ready, willing, and able to change my opinion on anything with newly presented information. Like, I think that's the game. And I think that's what makes people lethal when they're able to pivot like that.